Hey everyone. Hey Spell Squad. Welcome. This is the free live magic Q&A tea party with Madam Pamita that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We record this as a live free Zoom webinar each Sunday and then post the recording later on for a rewatch on YouTube. And if you're watching this as a replay on YouTube and you want to get in to our next one, because they happen every Sunday, you need to get the super secret password to come into the clubhouse. How do you do that? Well, you go to spellsquad.com, and when you sign up there, you will get on my email list, and you'll get an email that gives you the link to join us each Sunday. Now, the link stays the same, doesn't change. So once you get that, you'll get reminders and things like that every week about who my guest is going to be, but you can just keep that link on tap, put it in your calendar, remind yourself every Sunday to pop in at the specified time and join us here. We always have fun. We talk about magic, we talk about divination, we talk about things that you want to know about. All these questions, these great questions that I get from you and emails and so on, you can ask here live and get an answer here live from my guests and myself, and we have a great time doing it. So you're going to learn about magic, you're going to learn about spiritualism, you're going to learn about divination, all the magical things that my guests and I know combined, you're going to learn about it here, and it's so much fun. So if you are seeing this on YouTube, go to spellsquad.com, sign up, and you'll be able to join us live and ask your questions. It's super fun. In case you stumbled upon this and wondering who I am, I'm Madam Pamita. Madam Pamita, low maintenance version, because there's helicopters around my house, and I said, oh, this week I'm gonna broadcast from my bed with my kitties next to me and no makeup on and sweats, because that's what feels good to me right now. But I'm Madam Pamita, and you can find me at my website, parlorofwonders.com. You can also find me on YouTube under Madam Pamita. You can find me pretty much every other place, Madam Pamita. I have Instagram, I have Facebook. You'll find me in all those places. I'm an author, I'm a teacher, I'm a tarot reader, I'm a spellcaster. I do all those things. And primarily my big passion is teaching, which is why I have this live magic Q&A is a free thing that we do every week. So my guests and I can teach you about magic, how to do magic for yourself, how to do divination for yourself, things that are going to help you, empower you to make your life the very best it can be. Really, that's what it ultimately comes down to. So if you want to find out more about me, you go to parlorofwonders.com and you'll find all kinds of educational things. If you go under instruction, there's tons of free resources, videos, articles that I've written, a podcast, all kinds of things over there, and you can check that out. I do have a new book coming out, which is the Book of Candle Magic. I'm very, very excited about that. I have one book already out, which is called Madame Pamita's Magical Tarot, but there's a new book coming out called the Book of Candle Magic. It's coming out in October of 2020. Super excited about that. So if you want, it's everything I know about candle magic, and it breaks it down so that you understand it. It's not a recipe book. All candle magic books out there, or the vast majority, are just recipe books. Here's a spell that you do for such and such. This is not that. This is a book that tells you, how do I use color in candle magic? How do I use numbers in candle magic? How do I use timings in candle magic? And all those things. So it teaches you how to create your own recipes. Like, how good is that? So if you want to get that book, you can pre-order it. You can pre-order it on my site, parlorofwonders.com. You can also pre-order it in those usual places online. But what I'm really encouraging people to do right now is to pre-order it through their local bookstore. You know, we have little mom and pop bookstores that are struggling right now, and they could really use your support. And so if you want to up your karma, you're going to get an amazing book on candle magic. It's going to be great for me if you order my book. I'm going to be super happy about it. But you're also going to be supporting those mom and pops when you make that little extra effort to reach out to them. Send them an email, give them a phone call, and tell them you'd like to pre-order the Book of Candle Magic. It's published by Llewellyn. It's by Madame Pamita. You can find all the information out on my site if you look over there, but you can pre-order it through them. And that warms my heart, because I appreciate those bookstores, because those are the places that people like Carolina and I can go to teach classes and do things once all of this, shelter in place stuff is all over. We need those places that we can be able to teach. So we want to support them. So make a little extra effort and reach out to those bookstores and support them by pre-ordering the book through them. Alrighty, so that's it about me. This week, my guest is Carol. I'm going to say it with my best, really bad 4 years of high school Spanish accent. Carolina Amor. Carolina is a divination enchantress. She goes by the Divination Lady, and she's a priestess of Isis and Sekhmet. She's a tarot reader, she's an astrologer, and she began reading the tarot when she was 11, child prodigy, and that opened the door to living a magical life. Carolina, I picked up my first deck when I was 10, but I was not a child prodigy. I did not read the tarot. I played with them like paper dolls and a toy for at least 5 years. And then I figured out, when I was a teenager, I figured out how to read. So you are a child prodigy. Her mission is to help people awaken to their natural gifts through her readings and classes. She does a free tarot class every week, right? You do a free tarot class? Oh my gosh. And so that you can be empowered and learn. I know that I love teaching. I'm sure you're a natural born teacher and you love to teach as well. So she does these readings and classes so that you can connect to your destiny, to your best life. You can find her at Caro, it's Caroamor, Caro Amor. And, or you can find her on Instagram at divination_lady. So I'm going to put those in the notes for everybody right now. I'm going to put those in the chat so that you can see. Let me make sure I'm putting all panelists and attendees. Let me get that going. There we go. So there's her 2 links. So if you'd like to find her, those are the links where you can find her. Welcome, Carolina. Welcome. Bienvenido.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited, even if it's crazy outside.
I know. I said, I was so happy, with all of the stuff that's going on just in my city. I'm in Santa Monica, and in Santa Monica, there's, peaceful protesting, but there's also looting that's going on, and it's like a mile from my house. And, I feel like I'm very passionate about this issue, and I feel very passionate about the change that needs to happen, the progress that needs to happen. And I feel like my opinion, and you guys do not have to agree with me. And if you don't agree with me, you don't need to put a comment because it will make me unhappy. Me too. And I'm very fragile right now. Is that the situation is happening because of our system in place in government, this white supremacy that has been in place for over, for 400 years. We've had it here since the 1600s, since the Europeans first started landing here. And because of the sort of the disease of our system, this is now the result of that. And so I don't like to see violence, but I understand why there's violence. The violence is happening because we haven't been taking care of our people. The American people haven't been taken care of. So, and the people who are, all the people that are here aren't being taken care of. When we take care of our people, everyone's happy. No one feels the need for this violence, So it's a little bit of a scary time, a little bit of a nervous time, anxious time. But I said, what a beautiful thing to have you here, who is such a peaceful, sweet, loving energy. Your name, Carolina Amor, is perfect because you are Amor embodied. You are like a love goddess, coming. So I just couldn't wish for a better person to be here with me while I'm kind of a little bit anxious and nervous, but yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you. So you have, you're bilingual. I know that you speak Spanish. Habla español. Sí, hablas español. And so you came here from, where did you come from?
I come here from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, and I live in Buenos Aires almost, I could say half of my life now.
Yeah.
Because I've been there till I was 23, and then I moved to the States, and I've been here since. But yeah, I did all my schooling in Argentina too, so.
We were just talking about this, my friend Chris, who might be on here. I don't know if he's on here. He usually shows up. Chris and I were talking about how in Argentina, there's a lot of interest in mysticism and Kabbalah, and a lot of interest in that. And there's a lot of books in Spanish language that come out of Argentina that are old books about kind of more, I would call them more ceremonial magic, although there's sometimes books about law of attraction, the old books from, the turn of the century and the teens and the 20s. those books translated into Spanish, and a lot of that comes out of Argentina, and there's a lot of interest down there in mysticism and spirituality and so forth. Did you learn, you began reading the tarot when you were 11, so you were reading down there. How did that happen that you got a deck when you were 11 years old?
Yeah, it was a funny story because it was coming in a magazine and I was cutting the cards and playing with it. It was playing, maybe not so much reading. In the beginning, I was collecting them. I put the deck together and then I started. But of course, I had my friends and everyone. Like by 13, I was in high school because over there we are divided differently in school. So all my friends like, who's gonna be my boyfriend and all these different things.
Yeah.
So the cards became like really an avenue, but it's interesting because when I was there, I found that I didn't have a lot of materials in Spanish. I'm lucky because I started to be an English teacher, and that's why I handle the language fine. But I couldn't find a lot of materials, and so when I became a priestess and I started working with the Fellowship of Isis, one of my missions was to translate the liturgy from Lady Olivia Robertson into Spanish, and my community is a mainly like Spanish-speaking community because I felt like there was a need to bring more of that magic, more of that Isis energy to the Spanish-speaking community. So that was my feeling, although I know there is a big publisher in Argentina that is the one that, you know, translates many of the books that you're talking about.
Well, I think that's fascinating, like your story of how you came into that deck, because I think that age of like 10, you know, like traditionally even they would call it the age of reason. It's the age where you kind of have an awakening at that time. I think that's around that age is the time when you leave that world of spirit and you become more a part of the rational world. But it's the place where you kind of almost, many people will find they're attracted to something, whether it's sports or the arts or something. And you and I were on the same wavelength because I was like, anything magic, anything like mystical, anything fortune telling, anything astrological, I was all over it. But even here in the States, I'm older than you. I'm 55. I'm going to be 56. But you know, back in the 70s, there wasn't a lot of information. And so, and especially as a kid, you didn't have obviously there was no internet. There wasn't this access that we have now. And so you'd have to get a book, but you'd have to find a bookstore that would carry that book, or the library. And if the library had it, then you could, you know, check it out. But, you know, the books and the information was a little bit here and there. You couldn't really, and especially as a young girl, you're not really able to go, I'm going to drive over to the, you know, esoteric bookstore across town. You didn't even have an awareness of that, you know? So I think there's a lot of similarity in that you find these things. I think it's amazing that they had a deck in the magazine and that you cut that out. I love it. Do you still have that deck?
No, it stayed in Argentina with my family because I taught them how to read and I had to leave it behind when I moved here. I still see it every time I go back home. Like we pull it out and we read with that one. So.
Oh my gosh. I love that it's still in existence. I don't have my deck from when I was a kid, but I bought the identical deck at the same place that I bought it in Salem, Massachusetts. And when I was 10 years old, but it's not the same one, you know, and I have that original one. There's some energy in that, you know, like I love that you still have that one. That's so sweet, you know, that's lovely. So tell us a little bit about, tell everyone a little bit about what you do, what it is that you offer, what the things that you have up on your website. You know, we talked about that you have the tarot class. What else do you offer people?
I offer tarot readings, but I also offer astrology, and I have spiritual counseling sessions as well, where I do combine different systems and I work with the client depending on their needs. I don't do much of magical work for my clients. I mainly do candle work if they need that, but I like teaching them how they can do the spells or how they can work because I do believe like if you're working magic, you gotta work in for yourself. So that's part of like my concept. So I worked for a couple of years in the Mystic Dream, which is a metaphysical store around here in Walnut Creek. And then I left last year, not knowing that we were gonna have this pandemic that it would shut us down, and everyone is doing now readings, you know, over Zoom or over the phone. But definitely, like I got a lot of experience with the kind of hoodoo work that they do in the store with the candles, with the oils. And I do have my own version of candle magic and different kinds, because I did study shamanism, Peruvian shamanism. So I do combine a little bit of like that in my sessions. So if they come for spiritual counseling and I do feel like there has to be like an alignment or you know, some balancing of sorts, I would resort to that, to my Reiki and my shamanism to work on that area as
I
well.
love that. I'm delving into shamanism. I mean, like I've always had experiences getting healings from shamans and things like that. And I'm delving more into understanding it in understanding that process of like what it, like I've experienced on the receiving side, but to understand what it goes into it on the other side of that curtain is very fascinating to me. And I'm learning more about that right now. It's such a beautiful practice. And you know, that story, the shamanic work, I think a lot of people think that it's, they only think almost only Native American, but it's actually, if you look at indigenous populations all over the world, we see a lot of similarities with this spirit work that's done. And everybody kind of has their different flavor of it. But I find it super fascinating. And I'm looking into a lot of like Eastern European and Slavic shamanism, because I'm doing research on that and writing my column and my blog and so on. And so it's a fascinating topic. So guys, you got your questions about magic, you got your questions about tarot and divination, and you got your questions about shamanism and Reiki. I mean, we can get into anything. Spiritualism. Do you talk to spirit guides? Do you do work with spirit guides?
I do. I am a medium as well. And I'm part of the spiritualist church here in San Francisco. So I enjoy their services when we used to go.
Yeah. I'm a huge spiritualist, and I love going to spiritualist churches, and I kind of, wherever I go around the world, when I was traveling, I would always try and see if there was one that I could find that I could go to a service, and it's so much fun. I love it. It's such an uplifting experience. If you haven't been to a spiritualist church, they're quite lovely. All right, so let's take a look and see what we've got for questions. Oh, by the way, we're gonna have at the end of the session, we're gonna have a little mini reading from Carolina. And so if you would like to be in the raffle for the reading, Carolina, what's your favorite emoji?
I think it's the kiss with the little heart.
The kiss,
like the kiss with the heart.
Oh, the little face that's kissing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so if you want to be in the drawing for the oh, my cat. Oh, I have to be careful. My cat might try and escape up the screen. I have to watch her. She's a rascal. If you would like to be in the running for that, put the kiss emoji with the little, it's the heart eyes, or the kiss one?
They have it over there. It's just like the kiss with the mouth. So it's not the
kiss
heart
mouth
around.
Okay. So the kiss emoji, or you can write the words kiss. All right.
You go.
So if you either put the kiss emoji or kiss, you'll be in the drawing. Okay. That's so perfect. I love that. You're a hugger. I know you. You know, we saw each other we met at the Northwest Tarot Symposium this past February. God, it seems like a million years ago. And it was like, that's right, the beginning of March. And it was such a lovely, lovely experience, you know, meeting you and getting to know you. And it's so great. So anyway, you are a hugger. I know you are, you know, as most people from Argentina, you're hugging, kissing, all of that stuff, right? I love it. All right. So saying hello from everyone, and hope that, lots of messages of hope that everybody's safe. And I love seeing that. That's it's like, let's put that protection, that protection around all people right now. Everyone needs to be safe, and we can keep that and hold that in our hearts and hold that in our minds and put that as our intention out there. That's really good. All right, so Nina has a question. This is a great question. What should I do if I'm getting wrong answers from my pendulum? What would you recommend to someone if they're like, my pendulum isn't really giving me good answers?
As a person that like connects with some of my senses, you know, I'm mainly a clairvoyant, so I see. But when it comes to the pendulum, I like connecting with my body and then finding where I have a yes or a no. So I would say like yes, 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 yes. And where do I feel the energy vibrating? And mainly I feel it on my heart, on my chest. And if I say no, 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 I feel it on my belly. Okay. And I use this also when I don't have a pendulum, or I may be in a public place that I cannot take my pendulum out and start asking. So I would ask within to my guides, like, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? And I would feel either on my chest or on my belly, and I know whether it's a yes or a no. If your pendulum is still not responding, the question could be like, are you asking very direct questions? Is the pendulum like confused? Because remember that there is like part of our energy. So if we are doubting, if we don't separate, you know, ourselves from the tool, then we could get some of our own like doubts and fears or confusion. So I would say, like, before doing any work with the pendulum, ground yourself, center yourself, connect with your guides, connect with the energy that you work with, and then ask the question. And hopefully by then you will be centered, so it will respond. And if not, try the body. Like, really, that works very well because you can sense it.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's another thing I found. You know, not all pendulums, not all tools are a match for us. I have made it a practice with my pendulum work. When I'm picking up a new pendulum, I first ask it to show me yes, and then I ask it to show me no. So most pendulums for me will swing this way for yes and this way for no. But I have had pendulums that will do clockwise and counterclockwise. Unusual, but it does happen. So I ask it first to show me yes and show me no. And then the third question I always ask, can we work together, pendulum and me? Because maybe it's a gemstone that is not in alignment for some reason, or the pendulum is not a match for you in some way, or there's a better pendulum out there for you. And so it may be that your pendulum is that, I would say in diagnosing it, I would first look there to see if this pendulum, you can work with this pendulum, or this pendulum is willing to work with you. If it says no, then you can pass it along to someone else, you know, and get a different pendulum and ask that pendulum, can we work together? If another thing that I would say is, if you're using your pendulum to connect up to spirit guides, like you're not using it as an intuitive tool, but you're using it as a like a talking spirit board to get spirit information. If you're using it for spirit information, are you putting up a boundary, or are you just letting any old spirit in? Because it could be a trickster spirit that's in there answering crazy questions, yes and no, for the same question and things like that, to be confusing and a prankster, trickster energy. So then I would say, if you're contacting spirits, you'd have to do a simple intention before you get started. Only spirits of the highest vibration that are going to give clear and helpful answers, and that are high level, high vibration, high level spirits. That's what you have to say. I'm only asking for those spirits to connect, not just any spirit out there, because there are prankster, trickster spirits that are lower vibration. They're not necessarily evil, but they're chaotic energy. You just don't want that chaotic energy. So if you're doing that kind of work with your pendulum, then put up a little gateway that just allows in the highest vibration spirits. That's it. It doesn't have to be those exact words. It can be your own words, but you're setting the boundary of who you want to talk to. So do you ever use pendulum for talking to spirit?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I put that up all the time, every time I'm connecting to spirit energy, and I always get clear answers. I've done talking spirit boards. At one time I used to do talking spirit boards for clients. And because when I was a kid, I would do the Ouija board, but you get all kinds of crazy answers because you didn't set up that boundary. And the answers were sometimes scary, sometimes weird, sometimes didn't make any sense. But as soon as you put up that boundary and you ask for high vibration, positive guides that will give you helpful information, it all falls into place and you get great information from that. So that might be, those are the two things I would check on this too, you know? All right. So Olivia has a question. What color candle would you recommend? Do you work with candle colors, Carolina? Different colors of candles? So what color candle would you recommend for increasing friendly communication with an ex that you just began communicating with again?
For me, that, and from my point of view and my knowledge, I would use either a pink candle, or I would use like a yellow, like a honey candle, to bring that sweetness to the relationship. Because there is some yellow, but there's like a more of like a honey color that you can find. I
sell beeswax candles just because of that, because there's a little bit of honey in that wax, you know, so there's a you know, great opportunity to bring in sweetness into any spell if you're working with beeswax. I agree with you. The pink candle is great for opening up the heart. It can be friendship. It can be romance, but it can also be like family relationships, friendships, and so on. The pink energy is not sexual. It's heart connected. So it can be any level of family, friends, or lovers where you want the romance part of it. You're not focusing on the sex part of it. And the yellow I love as a way of like happiness, optimism. That's a beautiful color for bringing in that happy energy. And if you want to have a happy, positive communication, yellow would be great. I agree. I think those are two great colors. All right. Olivia has another question. I have a friend. What's the good candle, or I'm going to like widen it up, not just a candle, but like what kind of magical work would you recommend? This is a tricky situation. I want to help my friend who has bipolar disorder. She ignores me for days and I try not to bother her. So what would be a good spell working? Because I'm going to open it up to something bigger than just candle magic. For someone who's dealing with some challenges because of mental illness, you know?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I would definitely start by working on my own feelings around it, because if I hear it correctly, she has feelings about this person disappearing for days and stuff. So start working a little bit from the pain of that kind of like on and off type of relationship. But in regards to the other person, I would definitely do like a work, if they know Reiki or if they can work on prayer or any kind of energy work, to send that healing energy, that calming energy for the person that's having the mental illness. And so they can feel more in peace. And if they are in the high, they can come to a more of a neutral. And if they are in the low, again, bringing them back of more of like a natural, normal, whatever normal is for that person.
Yeah. One thing I love about healing magic, and I talk about this, I have an article about healing magic, is that sometimes the healing magic, we do the prayer, the intention, and the candle or whatever, and the healing happens. That happens once in a while. But the vast majority of cases of healing magic, it's like you do the spell or you do the work, and then the person gets the help that they need, either through a practitioner or medication or whatever they need, right? So it could be oftentimes finding out like changes in diet or information healing, or a person that's a healer. So you can do that intention of healing for your friend, that she finds her solution, whatever that solution is. If that solution is medication, or that solution is a therapist, or that solution is whatever, that she gets that solution. That's a lovely spell to do. That you're putting it out there for her to have the empowerment to find that you're not subverting her will. And then you can always ask, if you want to get extra support for your spell work, you can ask your friend, hey, I want to light a candle for you that you get some relief, or I'm going to say a prayer that you find a solution, or whatever you want to say. Don't you think?
Yeah, totally. That's also very nice.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely. And if they're resistant to it, well, you can choose what you want to do at that point. I'm not going to say don't do it, but it's also always helpful when they're kind of on board, I think, for their own healing. Juan says we have helicopters in Colombia more than a month ago too. It really gets you down. I know that noise is not a great noise, because it makes me feel sad for the people and that are out there and all of that. Murphy Pizza says, hi from Twin Cities. Please pray for us. There's an issue on my street. I mean, it's happening all over. So yes, we're all sending good protective energy to everyone, to all of us here in the Spell Squad, and to everyone beyond, our friends and family, and to really the whole country. To the whole world. Okay, Katie has a question about runes. I will not be able to contribute to this answer. I know this much about the runes. I have studied them, and I have actually rune tattoos.
I
have rune tattoos. I can't show it the right way. But I dip in and out of them, like I learn a little bit and then I get sidetracked, and then I learn a little bit more and I get sidetracked. So I'm slowly over my lifetime. I figure when I'm 90, I'll be a rune master when I'm 90 at this rate that I'm going. So Katie has a question about the runes. Do you, Carolina, pay attention to reversed runes, and why or why not?
I do, and I do the same with tarot cards as well. I feel like the energy of the rune will be different if it is upside down. Even though if you cast them, sometimes when you cast the runes, you could toss them, so they could come upside down very frequently. And there are some runes that don't have, like whether you look at it, if you look at a Gifu, whether it's upside down, it's the same.
Hey guys, there's no upside down.
It's just there are some that don't have reversals at all, but if they do have the option of being reversed, I will read it as reverse. And the way that I do my readings for reversals is either the energy is blocked for what that rune is bringing, or sometimes there is like they have experience. If it is a very like negative rune and it is reversed, I feel like they already learned their story and they are almost on their way out. They are almost there. They just have to do a little bit more work and get that away. But that's the way that I usually read reversals.
That's how I read reversals in tarot. I read upright, and I sort the cards upright, but sometimes a reversal will show up. So I do pay attention to it when they do show up, but I 100% am 100% on the same page. I always see it as blocked energy, that whatever that thing is, it's almost like it wants to come or it wants to be resolved, but there's some blockage that's like, oh, we just got to get over this last hump with that thing. Yeah. I see it the same way. Yeah. I know there's too many. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of reading reversals, and I'm not going to say that one way is right and one way is wrong, or my way is right, but that's how I think as a practitioner in tarot, you start to see what you try out different things, and then you keep what works for you and you let the rest go. And that was one of the things, I don't know, stumble upon it or had a download or insight about it. When I would look at those things that like upright, it means this, reversed, it means this. And I'm like, I didn't really sit with me that way. And I was like, well, how do I deal with reversals? And then that was the information that I got was, oh, it's a blocked energy. Oh, and then I started reading it that way. And then it totally worked in the readings for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Yin has a question. Is it safe to perform a reversal spell during a Mercury or Venus retrograde. So there's a question about what happens during Mercury retrograde and how do reversal spells fit into that whole scenario. It's like a box in a box in a box. And then we have a little box in the middle. So do you want to talk about any insights you have about that?
For me, during any kind of retrograde, I would not be doing a lot of work. I would be really focusing the energy on getting what the situation is and preparing for when the planet goes direct. I would do the work there. Because the way that I see the retrogrades is a period of like observation, of reviewing, like adjusting. So maybe you are feeling things and you want to do a spell, but the energy may be different because of the retrograde and you are not really targeting, or you cannot see very clearly what's happening. So I would definitely like wait if I can. If it's not an emergency, I would wait till like the planet goes direct to do magic.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you on that. And there's something you brought up, which is I think of retrogrades being a time of any word that begins with reflection, recycling, redoing, revisiting, any of those words of repairing, any of those words that begin with re, right? We go back to something. So I think there's this kind of popular thing that's happened. I've noticed it like in the last 5 or 10 years. Before that, people didn't really worry about Mercury retrograde. And then all of a sudden everyone was like, oh my God, Mercury retrograde. I'm just going to hide out for the next 2 months or whatever. You know, it's like, oh my God, you can't hide out for the next 2 months. What people were saying that they think they blew out of proportion is that if you begin something new, you're going to have to go back and redo it again. Mm-hmm. It's the forward motion is like you're pushing a rock up a hill and the rock rolls back down and you have to push it again. Mm-hmm. Can you do it? Sure. Are you going to have to redo it? Possibly. There's a good likelihood that that rock will roll back down and you'll have to do it again. But it isn't a disaster. Like people think of Mercury retrograde as, oh, it's a disaster. It's apocalyptic. No. Mm-mm. So when we look at a Mercury retrograde, it is a beautiful time, or Venus retrograde, it is a beautiful time to go back and fix something, or go back and reflect on something, look at something in the back, reflect on it. Now, if you want to do some magic, it's to heal the past. So any past work that you want to, it's almost like you get your redo, like even in doing past life work, or doing something like that. Oh, I want to heal that thing from the past. It's a perfect time for do that. But to start something new, it might be challenging. So for your reversal spell, Yin, I would say, are you addressing a past issue that you need to fix? Then a retrograde is fine. If it's a new issue, somebody, threw for you and you want to send their magic back to them, maybe a better choice would be to do a protection spell, maybe some cleansing and protecting, and then do your reversal when you've got more oomph to it after the retrogrades are over, like Carolina says. Do you agree, Carolina?
I do. And I agree with you. Like Mercury retrograde is not like the all evil. Like I think like people have taken the retrogrades out of proportion, but it's just like paying attention. And again, it is a period for reviewing or doing those and just pay attention. Like don't sign anything during the retrograde, and if you do, read it very carefally.
Yeah, because you're probably going to have to go back and sign it again, or you're going to have to go back and fix something. I mean, I think there's some unavoidable. It's not like you can hide in a cocoon or a cave for the whole time. You're going to be doing some new things, but just know they're going to take longer. You might have to redo them. It might be a little slower. And if you can wait until doing it after the retrograde, then that's better. If you can't, okay, but just be prepared that you might have to redo it. It's like, writing your thing and then your computer crashes and you lose everything. And you're like, oh my God, I have to rewrite it again. All right. You're going to have to do that work over again. that's a very typical sort of thing that would happen during retrograde. You know, your computer goes on the fritz or something like that. So they're not a time to be feared. And I actually like thinking of that time as how can I maximize, use that energy in the best possible way. There are ways to use that Mercury retrograde energy in a really positive way, to revisit something, to revise something, to fix something, to repair something. I think of those things as being that being a great time to do that. Doing past life work is excellent during Mercury retrograde. You're going to get very clear messages about your past. So anything back behind you is the where we want to put our focus, not going necessarily forward into sorry about that. I didn't turn off my Facebook apparently. Not to do those things that are new direction, new things, and all of that other stuff. So Natalia from San Francisco says hi. You're based in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, closer, like East Bay.
East Bay, yeah. So we got Northern California representing. All right. Bruce has a great question that I think is a big question. I don't know that we're going to have the answer for this question, Bruce, but we'll give it our best shot. Bruce says, is there a spell we can cast to end all this madness and end this pandemic? What are your thoughts about it? Let's talk about that.
Wow, that's a strong question. I think there could be some magic that you can do to alleviate, but part of the journey that this country is going and the world is going is to face this pandemic, which is a period of like elevating humanity, elevating us, and making us be more connected, even in this disconnect that we are having today of social distancing. I think we're starting to become very connected of like, okay, I'm going to put my mask so I don't, like, for the other person, for the other people. And I think we have lost touch with the other. So this is bringing us back to connecting with everyone. And we are in this together, but I don't think there is a magic recipe that we can do it and wake up and everything be solved. I think this is a sort of like the tower energy in the tarot, where like things have to collapse, things have to come down so we can rebuild. And part of the message for this year is like, you need to rebuild from the ruins of what's having to be collapsed at this point. So I think like, even if we do magic, we can do magic for protecting ourselves, for alleviating, but also for helping these communities and this world to really be a different world, because I think that's what we are being called to, and it's a great awakening for the whole world.
I have a couple of friends. One of Romy, my friend Romy, who is also from Argentina. She and my other friend Gwendolyn say the Tower card is followed by the star. Mm-hmm. In the line of the major arcana, the Tower card, which represents what I call the universe clearing out what needs to go. And it can be painful if you want things to be the way they were in the past. If you want things to be like they were before, you have to release that dream, that fantasy. But the issue is that we can get actually to a progressed place, a better place, which is the star card, which is the high level connection, the beautiful divine connection. And that's what we need. I mean, that's why we have this problem, is I would say is because we have lost our divine connection. We have lost our connection to nature. We have lost our connection to each other. And it really, I mean, we're seeing something very interesting. And I can say this as an American, you know, this is an American thing, an American disease. We're seeing, there's some great things about the American personality, which is independence and get in there and I can do it, and a lot of self-confidence. But that independence, when we realize that we are interconnected, that independence, that I don't need anybody else, I've got myself, isn't a natural state of things. We are meant to be in connection and communion. And that is the true spiritual state, that there are threads connecting all of us. And when we start to get into division and we start to look at us and them, and we start to look at, I'm not connected to anybody, I can do this all by myself, I don't need anyone else, that's when we're in a state of, I think, lack of spiritual awakening, lack of spiritual awareness. And that's a very American thing for sure, you know? Your thoughts, you have lived in two cultures. Do you see a difference in like Argentina and here?
I do see some differences, and I feel like we are seeing the ugly part of America that needs to be like seen and healed in a way. I did come to this country, the land of opportunity. It's definitely like I really resonate with that message, but I can see also the ugly part. And if you know, if you've ever seen the chart for the US, the US has a lot of Sagittarian energy, which is a very like expansive, a very like I'm the god of the world in a way. And what's happening right now is like they are also having the Pluto return on the country chart. And the Pluto return, it's calling for that division, it's calling for that destruction of the old. And it only returns every 284 years. So nobody has seen it. Like you can go in history and see what happened at that time. But what we can see is like the way that we are cannot continue to be so. So we have to embrace the change. And Pluto is that death card also, where transformation needs to happen.
Like really, we have to hold the vision. I think we have to hold the vision of, I think for a lot of Americans, what's very sad is that, you know, they had an idea that all of those positive things about America were true, but we're actually seeing they're not true. You know, the idea that we are all people are created equal is part of the mythology of America, but we're seeing that all people are not treated equally in our country. And so when we see that, I'd like to get back to that ideal and the dream and the vision of what this country could be, and that place where we do take care of one another and we do not separate from one another, and that we do support life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness for all. Because what we're seeing now is not the result of people being happy. People that are happy are content. They're staying at home, they're playing with their kids, they're hanging out with their friends. But if we say, oh, well, some people are going to get the happiness, but you don't get the happiness. I don't think that's not what our ideals of our country are supposed to be. So we can get back to that. So I would hold the vision. Oh my gosh, can I share one thing that's so beautiful? And it just came to me. Oh my gosh. Diana Paxson, you know Diana Paxson, right? Yeah. Because she's a big rune person, right? She's written about runes, great books on runes, and she's a big rune person. She is working on a book, or it's going to be coming out soon, or she's working on the Statue of Liberty being the goddess, the light and the goddess, and reclaiming the symbols of America, the American flag, the Statue of Liberty, and reclaiming those symbols in the truth of what we want to create for our country. So she's like, when you see the flag, I think a lot of people who are liberal people get, because the flag has been co-opted by this very negative, low vibration contingent. We should look at the flag and say, and liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all, which is part of the Pledge of Allegiance that we say to the flag. But when you say those words, you're saying a spell. With liberty and justice for all is your spell. Every single time you see the flag, you're going to start to reclaim that flag for what it truly is supposed to mean. That very high level thing that we had the ideals at the beginning that we were going to create something high level, and it didn't happen. So now we have to go back and we have to revisit and redo. Perfect for a retrograde. Revisit, redo, and look back at that Pluto return about America 2.0. What is America 2.0? America 2.0 is liberty and justice for all, is equality for all, is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. And how do we get to that place? And every time you see the Statue of Liberty as that goddess of shining a beacon of light, welcoming immigrants, which is what she represents, and she represents freedom, we get into that, because right now what we have is not that. It is not that. We have to revisit it, and we have to revise it, and we have to get back on the train tracks of that, you know?
Yeah.
So there's something you can do, a spell, Bruce. Every time you see an American flag, say with liberty and justice for all, and let that be your spell every single time you see one. And let's reclaim those symbols. If you guys look at Diana Paxson, you can find her online. I'm sure she's got something up about this, probably articles and blog posts about it, but it's something really, really beautiful that she was talking about at Pantheacon, this past
nice.
Pantheacon. So that's when we were meeting, and we were talking about this and how we reclaim those symbols, those powerful symbols. Let's reclaim them for the true ideals of our country, you know? Melton has a question. Hi, how can I stop we're almost at the end of our time. Last question, and then we're going to do a reading. I'm going to count those. So while you're answering this question, I'm going to count the people who put the kiss or the kiss emoji. I can't believe that hour went so fast. Melton says, how can I stop other workers from doing magic on me and my friend, as she's helping me with reconciliation work, but third parties getting involved, which is making things longer. Okay, so what it sounds like, not workers at a job, but someone's doing reconciliation work. So Melton is doing reconciliation work, but somebody else is trying to do breakup work at the same time, it sounds like, if I read this correctly. And I'm going to count while I'm doing it, so my eyes are not going to be on you. So
Okay.
what do you recommend for that?
I would recommend to start with protection, and, you know, any kind of reflective energy. Like, I like working with the idea of the mirror. So I would mirror back the energies that these workers are sending your way. So it sort of like bounces back. Whatever the work they are doing for the reconciliation, I would surround it, you know, with a mirror. I would surround it with that protection energy, so it really doesn't come back to you, and it doesn't ruin or affects your work, your magical work. But that's what I would do. Anything of reflecting back, or, you know, sending back that energy that's being sent. You could also use the energy that's being sent in a way of transforming it. So you could use crystals to whatever is coming your way gets transformed and added to the energy of the reconciliation, sort of like a filter. But that's what the two things that come to me when you are dealing with some other people from outside that are sending things your way.
Yeah, reflection is a really great kind of work. Anything with a mirror, anything like that would be super, super great. All right, so we're going to get to our raffle for a little mini reading. So I want you to pick a number. Carolina, you're going to pick a number between 1 and 33. Isn't that magical? 33 people.
Wow.
So what number do you pick?
I'll pick 16.
Okay. Francesco. Okay, Francesco, I am going to get into I'm going to turn your voice on. Are you here? Yes. Hi, Francesco. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear?
Hi. Yes. Do you have a quick question for Carolina that you would like to ask and have her answer with a little mini reading?
Just anything, how work is looking coming up. I feel
Okay,
it's
work.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Francesco, what I see is very positive. The first card that came up is the Fool. And
Yes.
for me, the Fool is a new beginning. It is a transformation on where you are with your work. So maybe you have an opportunity to shift your role, or to change a position, but there's something new that's happening, or work from home. Like there is a new beginning for you. And this new beginning is supported by the Four of Wands, which tells me it's going to be a very happy new beginning. It brings a lot of happiness your way. And the last card that I pulled for you is the Strength card. So definitely go with total confidence. Like this change is bringing you happiness, and it is showing you that you have what it takes to make it a good place. Like work being like very stable, very solid. Just tame your fears. If you have any kind of feeling like it's negative around work, just make sure that you tame it, because that's what the Strength card is saying. Like, don't allow the little monkey to tell you anything, but it looks really, really positive. So I would go with confidence.
Good. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
so
you.
welcome. So we are, I forgot to tell everyone also that we are going to be, you have a special that you're going to be offering people.
Yes, I'm going to be offering 20% off any of my sessions for the next month if you use the Spell Squad code.
So just SPLLSQUAD, all capitals, or
All
does it
capitals.
matter? All
No.
capitals. So all one word, right? No space.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So so there you have it. If you want to get to Carolina, I want to say your name always. You go to caroamor.com. Caro is like sweet, like deer, huh? Or is that face? No, it's cara, it's face.
For us, it's expensive.
Oh, that's right, Caro. That's right.
I'm expensive love, you know?
That's a good one. That's right. I forgot that. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. It's so funny. So Caro Amor is how they find you. And if they use the code Spell Squad, they'll have 20% off the services of reading with you of any size, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. You are so generous and so lovely. This was so much fun. And like usual, that hour goes so darn fast. Doesn't it go fast?
Can't believe it.
It feels like we were talking for 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. Everyone, be safe out there. I know a lot of you are in cities where there's lots of stuff going on right now. So be safe, stay well. We'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to have, my guest is going to be Guyan. I'm probably saying his name so wrong. Guyan Raven? Guyan Raven? He's the author of The Magic of Food. It's a book that's come out about rituals and offerings and why we eat together, all kinds of food magic. So it's going to be a super, super fun time. He is delightful. You will love him. And I will pronounce his name correctly next week because he'll tell me how to pronounce it. You know, when people have a name, I mean, the first time I said to you, I said Carolina, you're not Carolina. I'm like, oh, sorry.
That's all I ask. It's okay.
It was so lovely to have you on. Thank you so much. I hope we can have you on again sometime down the line too.
Yes. Anytime you invite me, I'll be here.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I just adore you. And I love everything that you do. Go check her out on her site. Go check out her Instagram. Her Instagram is divination_lady. Super easy to find. You can find her there, subscribe to her there, go to her website, and she has all the links to her Facebook and everything else over there. And check out what she has to offer. Thanks so much, you guys, Spell Squad members. I love you so much. You guys are in my heart. I adore you. And you know, I am putting a big bubble of protection around each and every one of you, that you're safe, that your families are safe, and that all is well for you. Take care, and we'll see you next week, same time. We'll see you again. We'll get together in the clubhouse again. It's something that is like the highlight of my week. Next week, I might even have lipstick on. Check it out, baby. I might not be in my bed in my sweats. That's all I could do today, guys. That's the kind of day it's been.
It's all good. You know,
I love you.
Comfortable.
Exactly. I love you guys so much. Hey, you don't know what is happening below the waist, right? You know, you're just seeing my t-shirt. I could have anything on, but I have sweats on. All right, you guys, take care. We'll see you next Sunday. Be well, be safe. And thank you again, Carolina.
Thank you, guys.
See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.